Hi, I'm Sheryl Sitz. Today we're going to talk about the divine feminine, shamanic vibrational practices, sacred geometry, and more. It's another episode of Exploring Possibilities, available on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, my website, journeyofpossibilities.com, and the best of the best are slowly but surely getting loaded onto that YouTube channel at youtube.com/SherylSitz. The whole point of this show is to help you explore holistic spiritual ways that you can literally transform life from the inside out. And we'll be speaking with Renee Kraus in just a moment. Mario and I invest a lot of our time, energy, and yes, even our money creating high-quality podcasts week after week to help you learn and grow in these shifting times. Do you find these valuable? If so, please help us keep doing what we're doing with your contribution. We welcome any amount at journeyofpossibilities.com/support. Mario Rosales of Tech Life Balance has created this podcast, the website, and he can help you too in so many ways to reach more people and make a bigger difference with your practice. Tell us about it, Mario.
Thank you, Sheryl. You know, one of the things that I've learned is this industry of the holistic spiritual field is very different than all other fields I've ever worked with. The holistic spiritual field is much more heart-centered, which is something that I actually learned even going through my own journey of this. And as I started developing my own sites more in a heart-centered approach with helping you with Journey of Possibilities, man, it took me to a whole nother level. You know what? Having learned that, I can share that knowledge and work with other people out there. And all they have to do is reach out to me and I can give them a very individual way of connecting with their people because, you know, I learned how to do it and I'm learning with your website every day. So reach me at mariorosales.net or techlifebalance.net and let me know what you would like help on.
Who are you? Why are you here? What wonders and opportunities await you beyond physical death? What happened millennia ago to create the damaged earth and fractured societies you see around you? Empowering, enlightening, internationally acclaimed, the Joseph Communications books offer answers to these questions. Spiritual, concise, contemporary, non-denominational, the communications originate from Joseph, a highly evolved discarnate spirit concerned for you and the future of the planet and its peoples. The words of Joseph and his soul group give you the power to bring light and change into your own life and the lives of others and to restore the earth. Available in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats, the communications can be ordered today at www.thejosephcommunications.com and also from Amazon and other major booksellers. All proceeds are used for further publishing and advertising and to make the communications available worldwide.
Renee Kraus is a holistic wellness practitioner who offers sound and vibrational therapy and is a shamanic practitioner, herbalist, and sacred geometry master builder in training. For the past year, she and her partner, the Pali Lama, who you've heard on this show, have been creating heart-centered communities by sharing ancient indigenous practices. And in her Master Builder's Sacred Geometry apprenticeship, she's learned to harmonize space and take this community building to a new level. You can find her on Facebook. She has a professional Facebook page, Renee Kraus, which I've tagged on this podcast, and she joins us now. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me, and what an honor. And I want to thank you for what you're doing and these messages that you're sharing with the world. It's so near and dear to my heart, and I just appreciate you for this. Thank you.
Oh, how wonderful. I feel like I'm the guest on the show now. Thank you so much for that. I felt that coming straight from the heart. I am so privileged to know you, and our paths have crossed in many magical ways over the past couple of years. We've been in ceremony together. We've done Facebook Lives together. We've explored the divine feminine together. It's really been a fun thing to go through some of our healing practices together and share those.
Absolutely. I really feel that magical is the perfect word to describe what has taken place in my life and these connections.
It's funny how that works. We really do start to attract to us exactly the right people and things for the next level, the next stage in our journey. And that's what's happening for you. So talk a little bit about your journey in terms of, I know you've had different legs of it that have brought different things to the forefront, but how are these different practices coming together for you now?
Oh, wow. What a question. So, I guess it really starts with that first initial wake up of there is more to life than what I've been taught. And just having that awareness come into play was the beginning of it. And about that time, the call to learn more about the roots of who I was came into my life. So gardening, that led into essential oils, herbs, natural ways of healing. And with that also came the word shaman, and knowing nothing about it, just having this calling to, like, what is this? And the discovery of how they believed that in the sunrise and sunset that there was healing powers within that. And I've always been attracted to nature. I was one of those kids that I wanted to be outside all the time, and that is still the case for me. And so I took my shamanic apprenticeship and felt called to do it again, believe it or not. So I've had roughly about 4 years worth of training in that. And really, the schools of thought, the books, throw that out the window. I mean, it's good for certain things, but when it really comes down to it, life is the training grounds. Life is the playground. So I was part of course, the gardening piece being very present in my life. The word Ubuntu came into my life, which Michael Tellinger is a big piece of that. And Ubuntu Kansas City was introduced to me, and I applied some of my gardening knowledge to that. And as I was doing so, I had this calling to apply sacred geometry to the gardens, knowing nothing about sacred geometry. I did what I think anyone would do and just kind of researched, what is this? Why has this word come into my life? What am I to do with this? And I discovered a sacred geometry apprenticeship. And back about 6 months ago, I took my first it's a week-long apprenticeship every week, every time it takes place. And it's a 2.5-year apprenticeship. So the second week is coming up here pretty soon. So I'm excited about that. And,
let's break this down for the listeners a little bit. So we use the word shaman. From guest to guest, the word shaman takes on a slightly different meaning because because we bring us to what shaman means to me. So what does the word shaman mean to you?
For me, it's someone who is of service to life. It's someone who is willing to communicate with what I'm going to refer to as the unseen world.
Yeah.
And applying the messages that we receive for the betterment of all life. It's the balance of earth. It's the balance of our community and the balance of ourselves and the harmony within each of these things.
So is it a religion? Is it a lifestyle?
I don't know. Definitely not a religion to me. To me, a lifestyle, wonderful way of describing it. It's also, it's the indigenous ways of being and living and being in right relation with the universe.
That's excellent. Right relation. Yes. Perfect. So with that aside, so now the listener's clearer on what those practices might look like for you, which we'll dive into that a little bit more. But then moving forward to the sacred geometry piece that you touched on that we can also dive into afterwards later. So what is sacred geometry then, as you would define it?
Oh, How do I describe that? Sacred geometry is everything. It is the shapes. It's the pieces that make up everything, the universe. So,
it's an energetic pattern. It's
yeah,
what is that?
it's hard for me to really describe what exactly it is. Just for me, it has started with knowing that certain shapes contain certain energies, so to speak. And by laying them or working with them, I guess, is the better way, and getting to know them and understanding them, that as we create our lives, we can also apply it. So, say for instance, a sunflower, just the shape and the layout of a sunflower, and how that alone is sacred geometry. The circle, the patterns. So the patterning would be a wonderful way of describing sacred geometry as well.
So it is, the neat thing about that is when you were first talking as an energy work practitioner, I went into the energy flow. And when I'm doing work on the body with somebody, I'm actually working with the geometric patterns and things, as well as the flowing of energy. Mm-hmm. It's in the unseen world. So that's what I was visualizing.
Yeah.
And then when you talked about the sunflower, I'm like, oh yeah. And then there's the seen world of sacred geometry. So there's an unseen and a seen element even within the sacred geometry, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's pretty fun. Well, let's backtrack a little bit so that we can kind of flow this together, because I think the shamanic is kind of foundational to then applying the sacred geometry. The shamanic understanding might be better laid out first and then moving into the sacred geometry. So shamanism as a lifestyle, in that living in harmony. I forget the language that you just used, but it was perfect. Mm-hmm. What practices? Right relation. That's it. Right relation. Mm-hmm. What practices then help you to bring that to clients and to people's lives in ways that help them feel more empowered and peaceful and content?
Listening is the first piece. For me, language can come in many ways. So we have the language of thought. We have the language of voice, speaking. We have body language. And body language can come in different ways. So if you're speaking with someone and they might be saying yes, but then they're shaking their head no, the body is saying something within that. Right. Also the piece of, what am I feeling in my body? Like, what is my body communicating to me? And then we also have the language of what I'm going to refer to as life, the spirit realm, the unseen realm. And it can also be seen too. And what I mean by that is, if you've ever noticed certain animals just keep on showing up, like no matter what you're doing, like it's just coming in different ways. Like, to me, that is that unseen world that's communicating with us and bringing a message to us or trying to show us something. So being able to tune into these things and these aspects is what feels to me to be the shamanic practice of things. So when I have a client, the first thing I want to do is just ask them what's going on. So listening, paying attention to their body language, getting to know their thoughts, where they stand in life. And each individual is unique. So allowing whatever practice that wants to come through me, whether it be a facilitation of some sort, dialoguing with them to connect to their inner wisdom. Because that's the thing, we each have our own inner wisdom. So what's right for me may or may not be right for another. That's the value and the importance of being able to listen and to, just play that piece.
And I feel like the shamanic, I'll call it a philosophy, way of life, whatever we want to call it. I feel like an important cornerstone of that is it tends to be about learning to be our own guidance, learning to hear our own inner wisdom, learning to, it's not about, you don't go to a shaman to get fixed. They don't fix you. That's not the way of the shaman. It is clearing blocks and helping you to flow so that you can see your own wholeness already, so that you can get unstuck. It's more of a facilitation process all the way around than it is counseling or therapy or any kind of repair job, because some people think they can go to a shaman and get fixed. So
no, yes, I love how you ordered that. Yes, absolutely, 100%. Tapping into our inner wisdom and the wisdom of life to move forward and to accept and appreciate and love this gift that we're in right now.
Yes. The listening piece that you spoke to, that's so important for any kind of facilitation or sessions where people are going to be sharing, because that's where we pick up on all the things that are going on. It's also important for all of us to develop that in ourselves. And the more that we become aware, the more we realize life is a conversation. We are always getting messages from the unseen realm. We see it in the animals that show up. We see it in the synchronicities of the people that show up, the numbers that keep popping up. There's a million ways that life is talking to us all the time. And that's our guidance, I believe, from the unseen realm, saying, hello, we're trying to get your attention over here. Check this out.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I think that's a shamanic philosophy or way of life that I embrace. Definitely. I love to see how my answers are right there. And we get really busy and we don't pay attention like we could to recognize that. So sometimes we have to get louder signals and louder messages. And sometimes they can be painful.
The coolest thing about it for me is like, when I start to notice a pattern, like, oh, this has happened before. All right, what am I not getting? Like, what is it that I need to get within this? Because I know that once I notice that pattern and I receive the wisdom and the messages within that, like, it's not going to continue. I've received the wisdom. And if it does show up again, that just means that there's another piece in it for me or someone else that's in my life.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's such a great tip for our listeners. What keeps showing up? And it's funny because I just had that conversation with a client yesterday. It's like, if this keeps showing up and you've moved and you've changed jobs and you just keep getting the same personality with a different name and face, maybe that personality is part of our life path to look at and resolve the conflict with and harmonize, right? So it might be easier to just deal with it than it is to keep running from it.
Oh, yes, because if you keep on running, it's going to keep on showing up. There's no running from it. It's all right. Sit with it, receive, do the best we can. Let's play with this. Like, how can I play with these things that keep on showing up? How do I want to play with them?
Let's explore that a little bit, because that's one of the things that we actually kind of started to delve into on the Facebook Lives that we were doing for a while. That's a biggie. When we shift from working at all this stuff to playing with it, is it irreverent? Is it less powerful if we play? Talk about that a little bit.
For me, I think it's more powerful,
Yeah.
Let's take work, for example. So if we're at a job and what is that like? Can we bring fun into it? How can we bring fun into it? Or is it just going to be something that we have to do? So regardless, it's there, but how do I want to play with it? What do I want to do with it? And for me, if I can learn in a fun way, in an exciting way, versus having to do it in a hard way, I mean, what would you choose?
Yeah, exactly. So where does sacred geometry play in with some of the stuff that we've been talking about? Because I know that you play with shamanic practices like breath work, sound, using the flower waters and flower essences, and you play with a lot of different things to awaken the senses for healing and expansion. How is the sacred geometry then fitting in around that?
Oh, I love you so much for just bringing that up, because I do have a passion for these things. It is fun. It's just, there's this piece of just love that it brings to my life. So the sacred geometry, keep in mind, I'm still semi in that beginning phase of this path.
Right.
So it's the energetics of it. It's harmonizing space is a piece of that. So for me, creating a safe and sacred container for this work that I do for myself and with people is a key piece. So the sacred geometry allows me to set up that piece. The other piece that it's brought into my life, so of course the gardening, it came in through that way. I have had land that has come into my life. It is a city lot that was gifted to me, which is really exciting. That took place during my sacred geometry, the first week of my sacred geometry apprenticeship. So this mission that I have with my beloved Polly, we create heart-centered community by sharing indigenous ways. So with the sacred geometry, I have learned to find the heart of the land. So there's many of them, kind of like there's many people, we each have a heart. So it's not like there's a piece of land and there's only one there. No, there's multiple. It's a matter of finding the strongest one. And so these shapes that I'm working with, there's different energies within them. Depending on the location of where we live, the shapes are going to be slightly different that I apply. So it can go into some major detail to tap into the specific energy. But my intention and my goal is to expand the heart energy.
Oh, I see what you're getting at now. That's cool. So you're going to what you want more of and using sacred geometry to expand it.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And it applies in so many different ways. I mean, I can create a bench applying the sacred geometry knowledge that harmonizes the body. So just by laying on this, it's anything that may be out of sync. If we have too much earth or too much sky, so to speak, like we're out of balance. So really the key is to find that in between and have that equal balance of both. So
you explained that really well. And I would just add to that, if I'm understanding it right, that we have all of the elements in our bodies that exist in the earth. And so where we're out of balance is just like where the earth would be out of balance. And so you're using the geometry to bring all of those elements within into balance.
Absolutely.
That is so interesting. It really is. I can see why you're taken with this work and would have a lot of fun with it.
Oh, the coolest thing. So I have this theory right now. So with this knowledge that's come into my life through this shamanic, through the sacred geometry, and of course, my partner Polly and I, creating heart-centered community. So here this intention is creating heart-centered community. What I originally thought that would be is sharing these ancient indigenous ways of life. So the breath work, the different medicines that life brings to us. Creating right relation through, I know the word ceremony can scare some people, but it doesn't have to be a scary thing. It's just more of like celebration is what I like to call it.
Yes.
And so creating heart-centered community has now expanded into like an energetic, like pure energetic way that I had no idea was even possible. And so if I harmonize this one city lot, that's bringing harmony to the neighborhood. So say, for instance, if a neighborhood has high crime, just the houses aren't being taken care of, that if I energetically harmonize the energy, expanding that heart energy into the neighborhood, if there's one lot, okay, one neighborhood that's harmonized, and I do that somewhere else in another neighborhood, eventually enough neighborhoods create a harmonized city. Enough harmonized cities create a harmonized state. Enough harmonized states, like eventually that harmonization, that balance, that place of just being equal, working together is present.
Yes, you're harmonizing the world one. And it's interesting because literally what you've described is the shamanic principle of as within, so without. What goes on inside is going on outside. So you're harmonizing, you're helping us harmonize individually in ceremony. And by harmonizing through the land, we're also helping to harmonize the earth. And this is a great time to remember you're not doing this by yourself. There are other people out there doing this throughout the world. That's exciting, right?
It is, absolutely. And for me, like, I know this is not mine to do on my own.
Yeah.
What I found in the sacred geometry apprenticeship, it was really, really cool. So I'm attuned to energy in the ways that I am, but each of us experiences energy slightly different. So when we come together as a group, if there's multiple energy workers or multiple people that learn to tune in and discover what energy is and what it feels like to them, it's almost like confirmation of, what's the word I want to use? Just reassurance of confirmation of, okay, that certainty piece really comes into play.
Yes.
When it's like, did I just see this? Did I just experience it? And like someone else is there to say, yeah, I just experienced this. And it's, just how powerful
affirmation
is.
Yes, I'm not alone here. I'm not losing my mind, or else we're all going crazy together and it's okay. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, we have really enjoyed the events that we've been able to do together, and I just cannot begin to language the power that is present when we all come together with an intention and we bring in all of these practices, one right after another, or simultaneously, like doing sound immersion along with the what am I trying to say? The flower waters and the flower essences and all the ways that we can work together in ceremony. We actually created a weekend together here in Texas, and it was so powerful for everyone. And at the heart of that, as you say, is community and intention. We all come together to open our hearts, to do our inner exploration and outer exploration together, and we come together in trust and love, and in that space that's created with the sacred geometry and all of the ancient ways, anything is possible.
Oh my gosh. That experience was so beautiful in many ways. So like you said, it was the sound, it was the breath, it was all these different pieces coming together. And one of my favorite experiences, because we had the full moon that weekend that we were working with. Yeah. Here we are on the beach, the ocean right there.
Yeah.
And during the very last day, that integration piece, and the dolphins came and were just doing their thing. That was just that confirmation from spirit, like, yes.
Yeah.
And then having one of the individuals that had never experienced anything, like he was a first timer.
Yeah.
And I think his words were, it was like 8 years of therapy in one night. And it was just like providing that space for our uniquenesses and our truth to be heard and seen, and allow that divine guidance to come through, and just working together, just what we can do for one another,
Yes.
how we help one another. And it's just such a beautiful experience.
Well, and all the little touches, because we actually used an Airbnb, but you did a blessing of the land, of the home. I mean,
Yeah.
you bring the whole thing together when you blend all of the practices. The sacred container is everything from thanking the land and blessing the land and all of the ceremonies and having an altar. And there are many people doing these kinds of ceremonies in the world right now. Shamanism has become like a buzzword. So I like to take the opportunity to speak to what actually comes together in a sacred practice, because they're not all the same. It's not, oh, which one's cheaper, which one's closer. Don't shop it that way. This is your soul work that you're talking about. If you're going to do this work, shop it by who's doing this from the heart, authentically, studying the customs and traditions, bringing spirit first, bringing a heart of gratitude. That's the kind of work that you guys are doing. And I just can't tell enough people how special that is. And you're not the only ones doing it, but there are many others that are not doing it that way. And I would ask a lot of questions before you go into a ceremony about what's really going on.
Yes, absolutely. To be mindful, and you're spot on. Like, get to know the person that you're working with. You're right. There's that word shaman all over the place now, but what is their experience? What is their background? The shamanic piece comes in many ways, shapes, and forms. So, just trusting, tapping into your heart, your guidance. We all have that piece within us. Say for instance, some of the teachings that have come into my life have to do with, so when it is a full moon, it's a great time for letting go.
Mm-hmm.
And so creating your own little ceremony or ritual around that. If there's something in your life or in my life that I want to let go of, write that down, burn it, have fun, whatever you want to create, like just tapping into that personal guidance and wisdom. What can I do? And really, that's the power. It's the power of intention.
Yes.
And the willingness to act.
Yes. Such a good share. We are beings of intention, and a lot of times we use that unconsciously. We let our fears run the show, but whatever we're focusing our intention and attention on, that's what's happening in our life. So the more conscious we can be of that, the more we can actually create by intention and design, rather than unconsciously creating more of what we don't want, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's so funny that you're sharing that right now, because what comes up for me is I've been guided to work with what I'm going to refer to as the womb.
Mm-hmm.
And how that shows up for me is just, if I was in the womb of my mother or Mother Earth, or even myself, just dialoguing with that piece. And the message that I received the other day when I was dialoguing with it is, when we make an action, what is that action stemming from? What is the energy present? Am I doing it out of a place of love, or am I doing it out of a different energy? So just to be really mindful of that piece, because then we can really create a world of love if everything that is taking place is from that energy.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a key piece, because the energy behind what we're doing, that's the foundation of it. I can do a great act out of fear, or I can do a great act out of love, and the love feels so much better than the fear.
Oh, yes, it does.
So yeah, a great share. You've got so much great wisdom, and I hope that listeners will take the opportunity to reach out to you through your Facebook page, Amy Renee Kraus, and kind of get to know you better and follow your stuff. And do you have any events coming up that you want to share with us?
A lot of them are local. We do a lot of sound events and just different qualities of events. So definitely we have a a website in the works right now. So Community as Medicine is coming to life.
Yes, it is.
And we'll be sharing a lot of what we're doing and the creations that come through us there. So I encourage listeners, even though it's not up and running yet, just to check back in and check out my page. I share everything through the page. Community as Medicine has a personal page too, where Polly and I share our events through there. So just follow us, like us, and keep up with us.
Follow us, like us, and soon you'll love us, right?
Yep.
We sure do. Mario and I both just think the world of you and Polly, and it's been so fun to watch you kind of, when I see you, Amy, I see a medicine woman of past lives trying to bring that forward into a world that's in many ways moving forward, but also coming full circle back to those ways. And it's beautiful to see all the ways that you weave it together. And so I think being a sacred geometry master builder apprentice is perfect for you. And you won't be an apprentice long because it's kind of what you're doing with your life anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And it also feels what wants to come through me is like not to hold on to these pieces. Like that's where I have been led, and to also allow that direction that life is, that new awareness of maybe not. I don't know where this is going to take me, but I know that's what was right for now. And just moment by moment, day by day, just loving, embracing all the new pieces that come in.
That's such a perfect message for right now, for all of us. We want to plan. We want to know what the next thing's going to be and what do I do with all these other pieces? And we're always in this mode of how do I put it together and how do I roll it forth? And it's already putting itself together largely through us. And all we have to do is stay out of the way and get out of our head, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. This has been absolutely fabulous. You also have a Facebook group that I find very interesting to follow and chime into sometimes about being ADD and ADHD medicine free. So I encourage listeners to also find out about that through connecting with you if that's something that they would find relevant to their lives.
Thank you so much, Sheryl. I appreciate that.
Thank you. And do you have a parting thought that you'd like to leave us with today?
Be love, be yourself, be true to you.
What a great message in a reality that seems to always want us to be something else or become something better. Be you. I love it. Thank you, Amy. You're just a delight. And I can't wait to see you again. We need to put that together sooner rather than later.
Thank you so much, Sheryl. I love you.
I love you too. And thank you, listeners, for joining us today. Let us know what you think. Send me a message at info@journeyofpossibilities.com with your feedback about the show. And please do support us. We want to keep these coming to you week after week. And unfortunately, we don't yet live in a totally free world. So we could use your support at journeyofpossibilities.com/support. We'll see you next week on Exploring Possibilities.
Bye. Thank you all.